Guys, as we wait for the AP poll to drop, it's kind of a weird week, so we're still waiting for that. I want you to give me your top 5. Blake, kick us off.
My top 5 is Georgia is number 1. Georgia looked the part, way more than the part than I thought they would be. I knew they'd be really good, but they looked dominant against an opponent that we thought was going to be really good this year. So I'll give them the top spot. Alabama, I mean, what else do you want them to do? They won 55-0 over a team that won their conference last year. Great performance by them. Third, I'll go with Ohio State. I thought Ohio State didn't look like what we thought they'd look like offensively and looked a lot better defensively than we thought they would. And then Michigan was a real surprise to me. I know Colorado State's not any kind of world beaters, but they dominated Michigan in every facet of the game, similar to kind of like what Georgia did. And with J.J. McCarthy, they've got a real upside at quarterback if they choose to go that route. And then I don't normally put a losing team in the top 5, but Notre Dame, I went into the season thinking that they were very overrated, and they lost their top receiver in camp with an ACL, but they really showed me something on Saturday night in the Horseshoe at night, gave Ohio State all they wanted to. And I can see them, if they went out the rest of their games, they'll have a chance to host Clemson. And then they play USC at the end of the year. If they went out, I think that they have a chance to make the playoffs. Not saying that they will, but after what I saw last night, I think that they have a chance to do it.
Blake, how are we putting Notre Dame in the top 5 and they just lost? What are you talking about? Notre Dame doesn't belong in the top 5. They just lost to Ohio State. They couldn't move the ball. Tell me, what are you talking about? This is an egregious addition to the top 5. I'm very surprised at you for this.
Well, they've got a new quarterback that played in one of the tougher environments in college football that did a pretty good job. They don't have a lot of explosive playmakers on offense, but they kept the game close until the very end. They were within 1 score of the game against Ohio State, who you and I both agree is probably one of the, at least until we saw Georgia, was one of the top, let's just say their top 3 team in the country for sure. So I think they have nothing but room to grow. They had some players banged up that'll come back. After watching Clemson last night, I'm not sold on them with DJU. They've got a great defense like we've talked about all year, but let's not kid ourselves. Georgia Tech is not a team that's going to win more than 3, maybe 4 games this year. So I think Notre Dame's got a chance to win out the rest of the year if they can continue to grow. And Marcus Freeman showed us, everybody last night, that he is a very good defensive coordinator, head coach for Notre Dame, and that they're going to have a chance to do something special this year.
We already knew Marcus Freeman can coach defense, though. That's not anything new to us. Emily, here's the real top 5. I'm going to put you back on break a little bit. All right. First off, how do you kick Alabama out of the top spot? They won 55-0. That is ridiculous. Georgia had a great game against Oregon, but let's not act like Oregon is a powerhouse team yet just because of the ranking. You don't drop Alabama out of number 1. Alabama's still number 1. Georgia has to go to number 2. Super impressed with how they played against Oregon. Kirby Smart said it himself. They just got better players. It's going to take Dan Lanning some time to refill the coffers at Oregon and get them up to the highest level. Ohio State, we're going to have them at number 3. They started off slow offensively. We expect more from them, and I think they're going to give us more, and they'll hit their stride. Everybody's down on Clemson right now. All you saw on social media, every group chat, every barbershop, they want Dabo to bench DJU. That's all everybody wants to do. He's the most hated guy in the country right now amongst the big-time players, or guys that are supposed to be big-time. Cade Klubnik right now is the most popular backup quarterback in the country. But you can't disrespect Clemson. Still great on defense. Quarterback, well, they did struggle offensively, but Blake wants Notre Dame in the top 5, and Notre Dame struggled offensively, and they lost the game. So I got to keep Clemson in the top 5 at number 4, and then the University of Michigan at number 5. They got a crazy quarterback situation going on right now, but it's worked so far. We'll see J.J. McCartney next week. and we'll see where it goes from there. But this is my top 5. I still don't understand how Blake goes with Notre Dame after having a loss. But I know he's going to probably come in here and tell me I'm crazy for having Clemson still.
No, I think if Notre Dame played Clemson this weekend, they would have beat them. I mean, that's just facts, because Notre Dame would have stuffed Clemson's offense where they had nothing last night. And so we'll see how it plays off, and we'll see how injuries affect it. They'll play each other a couple of months down the road in South Bend. Lots of things can change between now and then, but I just think DJU, I'm kind of tired of bashing on him, but he's shown his upside, which is not a whole lot. He did improve last night as the game went on, but if Clemson wants any chance to win this year, they're going to have to make a change at quarterback. And if they don't, then they're going to waste a really good defense for nothing.
Blake, how is Notre Dame's offense going to score on Clemson's defense, though?
They'll get better. We'll see. I think it's week 1. They're broken a new quarterback. I think, they don't have a lot of dynamic playmakers that can make explosive plays, but I think they can move the chains behind a very good offensive line. One of their best, if not their best, offensive linemen didn't play against Ohio State, and that was a big factor in Jarrett Patterson. So he'll be back soon. I think they've got one of the better O-lines in the country. They're going to try to pound the rock, make some plays here and there, and play great defense and special teams. That's a good recipe to win a lot of games. And we'll see how it plays out. Injuries, of course, can change that quickly.
Emily, I'm feeling a bet. Me and Blake are going to have to make a bet on this Clemson Notre Dame game. I'm sure we'll come up with something that will be big time.
I don't want to just be dumping on Blake, but I do have to ask about you leaving Clemson out, because I think that's kind of the biggest differences between Clemson and Notre Dame, between the two of you guys. Is it just DJ Uiagalelei's play that makes you concerned about Clemson, or are there other question marks? Because I think that's, for me, I'm looking at the rest of the roster going, okay, Will Shipley is awesome if you give him the football. They've got an incredible defense. I don't have a lot of question marks, as many I would with Notre Dame. So is it just the quarterback play that kicks them out of your top 5?
Well, it's definitely not their defense and special teams. I think their defense and special teams is very good. Their offense is not a great offense. They hired from within, which I think is a mistake. Their offensive line didn't look particularly good last night against a Georgia Tech defensive line that I don't think a lot of people thought too much about. Their wide receivers dropped a bunch of passes. And Will Shipley, what did he have, like less than 10 touches last night? I mean, he's your best back. You got to feed that guy the ball. And so I just think DJU is not going to be able to beat you with his arm. He can run a little bit, but they're going to have to open it up. If they can open it up, I think their receivers will get better as the year progresses. But you're going to have to make a quarterback that has the not only the ability, but the confidence to throw the ball in some tight windows and against some lot better competition than they saw last night. Georgia Tech was not one of the top teams in the ACC, maybe one of the worst teams in the ACC, in my opinion. And they went toe to toe with them for the vast majority of the game last night.
Carl, is there a team that maybe you were considering, or was it very easy to pick your top 5?
Well, I think Texas A&M, you know, they're interested and intriguing team that's going to be right there at the top 5. And we'll know more about them after the Miami game, after the Alabama game, as the season goes on. They got some really tough games coming up. So that was a team that I considered right there. But I think as of right now, that top 5 is where we're at for right now.
All right. We'll write it in Sharpie, and we'll do this again next week, guys.